So there's a new indie film that looks honestly kind of incredible. It's called Myth of Man. Myth of Man. And I'm going to react to the trailer here in just a minute, but I just wanted to go over a couple details about it with you before we watch the trailer. So Ella embarks on a whimsical odyssey between life and death, convinced she has received a message from her creator. That's a very interesting tag sentence. That's a very interesting tease. The director is Jamin Winans. Haven't really seen anything he's done. It definitely looks super cool. So let's go ahead and watch the trailer together. Little carnival thing going on. What? That's so. Oh, whoa. This headgear thing that's crazy. What? Got some Cyclops head there at the end. Okay, so that it's saying, so what do you think of that? Right? So what do you think of that? This super interesting. The visuals are crazy on this film. Check out some of these visuals here. I mean, the screen grabs. I mean, the color grading. I mean, and the visual effects. Now, I will say, having done some very beginner level visual effects in some short films, I could spot the inconsistencies. It didn't. Some of these effects didn't feel like it was truly integrated into the image. It felt a little bit computerized, I guess, but it was all very beautiful. And I tend to give a lot more leniency towards indie filmmakers and their projects because obviously they're working on a budget. Now, stick with me because we're actually going to look at an interview with Jamin and I believe his wife who helps him on films. Maybe she's like a co-producer or something for his films. She's been doing it with him for a while. And they actually give some really interesting insight, especially for filmmakers and the future of filmmaking. And this is an interview that they did like 10 years ago. So it's really interesting to hear them process 10 years ago what the future of filmmaking was going to be and see what they got right and also see like what's actually happening in the world of filmmaking. So, but these visuals are insane. The color grading, some colors are very bright. Some colors are very muted, and so that it's very detailed color grading. Like some of these flowers right here, right? Like the flowers, the blues, the hat. There's certain emphasized colors, while others are very muted to kind of make certain things pop. And I'm noticing a lot of the blues that are popping, very heavily saturated blues. So it might have to do something with maybe the subcontext, of the film. The blues might represent something in the story. I will say when I first saw this trailer, I instantly thought this kind of reminds me of like a live action world of Arcane a little bit. The Arcane show. It's based off League of Legends. It's on Netflix. Let me know in the comments what you think of this trailer. It definitely is very high quality. It's definitely very quirky in nature. I would have loved in the trailer to hear a little bit more of like characters speaking, if in fact that they do speak. I don't know. Maybe it's like a all action type of film. The set design, the costume design, the composition, everything is so incredibly quirky that it really makes me think like, what kind of visual designers did they have on this? Because the world is so elaborate. I feel like I'm going to have to do a deep dive if anything is released about the special effects for this film, because this is truly incredible. They are having a little theatrical run for this in select theaters. So there's, London, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles. I think some of these have already played because this trailer is like 3 months old or something. Germany and Berlin, Austria, Atlanta, Georgia. That's actually near me. That's coming out February 7th. So anybody in the Atlanta area, like I am, could go see it. There's a handful of showings that's already happened, but it's super fascinating that they have even a limited theatrical run for this film. And I'm curious to see, once the theatrical run is done, what the film is going to become afterward. So as I said, I want to take a look at this interview. I want to hear what they have to say. It's a couple minutes long, so stick with me, but I think it's super interesting what the director and his wife, who works with him on his films, has to say about the future of filmmaking. And remember, this is 10 years old. This is a 10-year-old interview on the Film Courage YouTube channel.
What's the future of filmmaking and film distribution 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Oh, I don't know, about 5 minutes from now. Two separate paths right now. The $1 million to $30 million movie is gone. Tours who are maybe getting Final Cut in that price range no longer are getting any Final Cut or anything like that. So it's either turned into the $200 million tentpole blockbuster, of which, that's just going to keep going. They're just going to keep rebooting the same stories and keep putting those out every summer. And
maybe,
or doing what we do, which is very low budget, under $500,000 movies, even down to the micro budget.
Okay, so this is 10 years ago, but it's giving an indication of what possibly their budget was for this film, Myth of Man, possibly around $500,000. Maybe it got up to $1 million. I'm not sure. They probably have private investors or something.
World. And I think it's just going to be a matter of people kind of operating in that range. Can you start to actually build your own audience that follows your own career and your own work? I think film festivals are dead in a sense of there is no premiering your movie at Sundance and becoming Robert Rodriguez or Tarantino anymore. I think that ship sailed long ago. Film festivals are not about discovery anymore. They're about getting stars and people. And
I've been saying this for a minute. If you guys been watching my videos, this has been said 10 years ago. So I'm not even saying anything new, but it's so much truer today. Film festivals are a scam. They're a waste of time. They're there to benefit Hollywood systems. And all that the filmmakers are doing when you enter film festivals is basically just saying, like, please, please pay attention to me. And you're begging for attention. And you give up all of the power and hard work that you've put into your film and your story to just possibly get a look from one of the executives with all the money or the people that's connected to the Hollywood system. It's fascinating to see that 10 years ago, they were seeing, even in the indie market, that the film festival route is dead. But also notice she said it's good to build a following of people that are your fans that want to follow your career. And again, if you go back to it, of the videos I've made even just this week, you'll see that I've been advocating that filmmakers get on YouTube and start building a channel online and with long form content. You don't even have to get on just YouTube. You can get on places like Rumble. Spotify has a new feature called Spotify for Creators. You can start uploading long form content in addition to your films so that you could start building your own audience that's going to be baked in for your films when they come out. So this is extremely insightful.
We talk a lot about authenticity, and I think that's really the future. I mean, I think to your point, I think that, the tentpole films are going to continue, and there's going to be bigger and bigger films and fewer of them. But I think what is happening and what will continue to happen over the next 5 years is that there's going to be more niche audiences, so that if there's going to be filmmakers making smaller films like what we're doing, and even smaller. There's some great films that are being made for $5,000-$10,000, but they're much more niche oriented.
And keep in mind, Netflix is diving into this right now. So he said in the next 5 years, maybe it took about 10 years for the industry to really catch on to this, but Netflix has diversified their Netflix films division by genre instead of by budget size. So basically, they're trying to create more small budget films and get indie creators, more people, more filmmakers in to create niche genres, right? And the purpose for that is so that it creates a larger catalog of different types of films to serve a wider range of audiences' interest. So he's absolutely right. It probably took a little bit longer than 5 years. It's taken about 10 years, but it's literally happening as we speak.
They're finding their audiences because they are so niche. And I guess I feel like
finding audiences because they're niche. YouTube, right? Discover it on YouTube because of the niche your channel's in.
There's going to be more voices, which I do think is a good thing. And there's going to be a lot more freedom because there's not so much money going into them. But then to the point of your first question, the way in which to survive and how to support yourself while doing that, that's the tricky thing. But I think there's definitely going to be an audience.
I think the solution to that, kind of currently, there's a lot of ways you can monetize online, but for filmmakers and to want to spend a lot of time making content to grow an audience and also take a lot of time to make films as well, that's a lot of production happening. And so to find the type of money to support yourself and to get a budget for films, it's really going to come down to creative ways to monetize an audience that you've grown, right? Filmmakers, in some ways, if you want to be a filmmaker that is focused on being independent and uses platforms like YouTube, the money generation part will come. It will come with audience growth, but there's a level of troubleshooting in there because like a regular YouTuber would just upload content and make their money and pay their salary, and maybe they hire an editor. And so there's like a constant kind of low effort, higher reward, or at least a reward of monetization that can support that lower effort ambitions. Whereas with filmmaking, you're also wanting to have a budget for a film as well as support yourself. And so it's a really interesting future and a really interesting business strategy that filmmakers have to come up with. But he's right, there's a lot more freedom in it, and it is kind of the future, right?
All kinds of indie films, just how to monetize that in a way that that people can survive is the really tricky part.
Yeah.
And but I think that's I think what we know is that we don't know. I mean, I think what we know is that the industry is changing rapidly and that the future is still being defined every day. And just because it seems like, it doesn't feel like there's a really good way to monetize it now, doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be. And I think that could change overnight.
Maybe it could change overnight. And I guess on some level, he still could be correct. But what's interesting is outside of filmmakers taking hold of their own career and their own filmmaking ambitions and the future of that still hasn't presented a very obvious, very lucrative path for those indie filmmakers, because Hollywood, the industry, wants to just keep the system that benefits them the most, which means filmmakers do all the work, beg for attention, and then they can just hand select from this pool of people who's done so much work just to be in the pile that they're going to select from. It's a really messed up system, but it benefits the studios and it benefits the Hollywood system so much more that they don't want to get rid of that legacy format, that legacy method that they're just like conveyor belting creative people through. So there's still, I mean, YouTube, online video, and audiences growing on these platforms definitely is going to play a major part in the future of filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers. But still, like I already said, it is difficult to turn that monetization key in a major way that's going to make a difference. Now, he did say something about how the future of filmmaking is going to be more authentic. And in the world of AI, that seems very obvious, right? There's going to be a lot more artificial stuff, a lot more artificial art. And so authentic creation by humans is going to be the future. And if you want to hear a really interesting video where I reacted to Diary of a CEO, a guest that he had on spoke about the future of creativity and how that is going to need to be more authentic. Check out this video. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel and like it if you haven't already.